Okay, welcome to the Relevate Community Knowledge Transfer session. Today we're going to talk about maximizing the ROI on human relationships. So, as mentioned, everyone can see my screen. Yep. Okay. As mentioned, we had our meetup the other day, and bringing together people, it's no easy task. It's actually a lot harder than you think. So, getting you guys here on a Monday night is a pretty big deal. But sometimes we want to expand on that. We want to grow. We want to go further than what the people that we already know. And so in order to maximize human relationships, all I did from this presentation was backspace out the word COVID from a previous presentation. But a lot of the things really do still stand the test of time. So yes, if you didn't know it, we're in the digital age. This is Supercar Blondie. Now, she is from Australia, but she lives pretty much in Dubai full time as a content creator, making videos on the latest sports cars, concept cars, etc. And so now she can pretty much make all the money she needs through social media, and really just can pretty much go anywhere. And that has happened now more than ever. Like I think about 2, 3 years ago, there was something like 26 million content creators on YouTube. Now there's about 150 million. You've got the same growth in content creators on every other platform. So now things aren't necessarily as unique anymore. The barriers to entry are dramatically lower. But we have global customers, we have global workforce, we have uh, more and more people in the air at any one time, unless of course you get a blue screen of death. But having everybody being so accessible, I'm making deals with people in the US and Canada. The banks are making it easier to do transfers. So our world actually opens up and it becomes more available to us. And obviously, this is again a COVID slide, but you can see the growth rate of people using Teams and Zoom. And that really hasn't slowed all that much. Now it's become stock standard. Here we are on Zoom. So there's nothing really new about that. But more and more we're doing everything global but local, uh, which means that we have a competition in terms of lower socioeconomic countries or lower economies that their funds are or their dollar goes further than ours does. However, then there's niche specialization. We have the cultural context to operate in countries such as US, Canada, UK, etc. And comparative to their dollar, we look attractive. So it just means that people are going to flow to different areas. But of course, China are now outsourcing to Africa. So in that global risk, or in that global profile comes global risk. We've got block flights, shipping lanes. That Suez Canal thing came from a shortage of one. Oh well, someone crashed the ship into the side and kind of blocked it. But before that, there was a huge shortage of the fuels to drive these vehicles because one particular additive couldn't get through that gap, and then it stopped basically, or drove the price of petrol through the roof. Increased flight costs, and now with that centralization of risk, for example, CrowdStrike, it went down and shut down virtually every airline. Southwest Airlines were running on Windows 3.1, so they were okay. But nonetheless, we need to be aware that with great centralization and great efficiency comes great risk. And yeah, down here it takes 15 countries to make a pair of jeans. You've got the steel or the nickel and the copper mined in Africa. You've got the stamping of that metal happening in China. You've got the dyes being made in Bangladesh. You've got the materials being farmed out of cotton fields in South America, and all of that going through to the production sheds in China to then go back on a ship back to you into your shop. Anyway, so again, Taiwan under threat of invasion, which has been the case now since 2020, well before 2020. We've been talking about it, and we're still talking about it. And the fact that the most of the semiconductors are produced there, that actually drives the cost up on microchips. But now you've got a little bit of I'll say de-risking, but also at the same token, competition, because China are now producing their own CPUs. So that kind of changes the game yet again. Russian gas, no one can buy it. But now we found other ways. So India buys Russian gas and on sells it for a profit elsewhere. And everybody's complaining about India, saying, "Oh, well, you've gone ahead and breached trade agreement." But they're a neighbor to India, and India serves India's interests. So whilst we might feel like we're on the same team, quite often everyone's on their own team. Skills, skills are shifting massively around the country, and a lot is happening in South America and in Europe. So countries that were probably seen as lower down. We just had Olga on the call from Latvia in Cyprus. These are people that can do things a lot cheaper from a similar-ish cultural context. So now we've got to really be aware of that global game, because now competition is everywhere, but so is opportunity. So the geopolitical thing, again, Ukraine invasion, that happened years ago now, and it's still running. There's been 5 military coups in North Africa alone. Terrorism is no longer the greatest global threat. However, espionage is at an all-time high. And China is the second largest economy, and followed by, I think India is creeping up to be the third. Local areas have local crises. Now, these things happened quite a while ago, but with global staff comes global crisis management. Typhoons regularly affect Philippines, and quite a large number of people are outsourcing to the Philippines. Now there's a growth in the economy in Africa, or in China. China is no longer the cheapest because everybody produces in China. And because they put the railway through the center of China, now there's internal wage competition between the east, where the ships can go, and the center, where the train lines run. And the reason why people will take a lower pay in the center of China is because it's closer to their families, and they're not going to have to go all the way across through to Shenzhen in the east. They can stay closer home. So they will take a pay cut. So now the east has to drive the wage up to attract more people. But we're all alone in this, aren't we? Or maybe we're connected. There's a lot of people in this world, and the average is 338 Facebook friends, 843 Instagram followers, 500 to 1,000 LinkedIn connections. But how many of them would come to your rescue if you're on the bones of your backside? Gamification kind of destroys what connection really is. And I'm finding more and more that the face-to-face can actually do a lot more, particularly in this hyper digital world where everybody is a fleeting glimpse and one scroll away from being completely gone. So the system is rigged, and it's rigged in the favor of the aggregators, the big guys who are running the system, like Mark Zuck and Microsoft, who are running LinkedIn and things like that, because they're after the screen time. They're limiting your connection rates. They're limiting how far your posts go, because they're trying to also fight against people who are trying to hack the system in terms of scrapers. But at the end of the day, I know you guys and girls, and you know me, and that's ideally the relationship that's going to stand the test of time. I can get another phone and come back. And there's a lot of fakes. This influencer faked being in basically made her backyard to look like it was some glamorous beach. This guy was claiming he's a crypto billionaire, and he's found to have $162 in his bank account. This Nigerian scammer got arrested for cybercrime. So it happens a lot, and we can no longer hide from it. As once upon a time, we had a lot of cover, we had a lot of content, but people are aware, and that cover is getting thinner and thinner. So we need to get in it, really understand it, really drive it. And rather than delaying and kind of pretending like there's nothing going on and you can carry on like usual, you need to understand the environment around you and really harness it. Population shifts are really causing a problem at the moment. So over the last 20 years and through to the next 20, 30, 40 years, there is a shift in the population. So a lot of these figures are projected from the ABS. And again, I took this at 2022. It's only 2 years later, but we're seeing that whilst there's a growth in the population, there is a stagnation in the working age. Here it is denoted by the center. In fact, it's in decline. So the working age population, there's fewer people that have to handle more people, more youth and more aged. So take from that what you will. Automation is key. But changing behavior is not an easy thing to do. We need to really drive what change is. I mean, now we've got AI, and yes, it enables and does things, but I think AI is still not really perfectly there yet. And everybody goes, oh, we can just use AI like it's some magic pill. But unfortunately, it's going to need a little bit more finessing before it can be that magic pill. And it still relies on having a core database of information in a structured format that it can read, understand, and regurgitate upon command. So, once upon a time, we were looking for being efficient, self-service, less contact. 5 years ago, it was how quick could we answer the phone? And today, it's everybody in the company can provide a service. Everyone is a communicator. Everyone is a conveyor of relationship. And we need to provide that balanced human approach to everything. That was an old example of a steel company that were slow laggards, and still invoices are taking 6 weeks to produce. So they have literally $2 million or more worth of invoices that are about to be produced, sitting in boxes waiting to be manually entered into the system by a person. And that is going to cost them $2 to $4 million in cash flow because they can't invoice that 6 weeks sooner. Instead, now with modern systems, you should be able to invoice within minutes or hours, provided the data is being captured effectively. The old way doesn't work. If you try and sit there and do it the old way, you're going to end up like the mechanical calculator, where the engineers of the mechanical calculator didn't see the writing on the wall, even though they were using the modern electric digital calculator to reference and check that their machine was working correctly. So yeah, gone. And whilst Kodak is still around, it's a shadow of its former self, even though they themselves invented the digital camera. And everything requires relationships. We're all human. We can't help but be human. The answer is not out there whilst the answer is technology, it's not the matrix. We need to be one with it and leveraged by it, but it doesn't control us yet, and hopefully not. But we'll see. And most people think that you would imagine that the leaders of companies would be driving these things, but in fact, they're the biggest roadblocks. So the small agile companies really have a chance to take it to the big laggards, even though they're investing billions in technology, even though people are pouring money into AI, those projects still fail. Just let Kim in. And, code's come a long way. So, if you understand what it is and what it does and how it works, you don't need to know how to code. You just need to know how systems go together. And now they've got so much low-code platforms that you really don't need to know everything. This may come as a shock to you, but something as simple as an online form can do absolute wonders. And using these systems can allow you to be more human, provided you collect that information in a way that is human. Don't ask too many questions. Turn it into a process. Manufacturing's got it right. Things come in, they get sorted, they get put in the right place. There's a little bit of process that goes on, and then they come back together to bring the complete picture. Getting information from a person is almost a lifelong event for the life of the relationship. You don't have to ask everything on day one. You can build a picture of who that person is over time. And provided you're updating it and bringing that information together, now you can get human relationships at scale. Sometimes I like to capture what t-shirt size someone wears, or what their favorite coffee is, or maybe what their dog's name is. These sorts of things make relationships human. And hopefully we can get to a point of layering up all of these systems to get to a point of business value. And I challenge you to think that, for me, I work in CRM, but really it's about XRM, human relationships that scale, systems that allow you to take notes and, things that people used to do in diaries, things that people used to commit to memory. But sometimes, good relationships with suppliers can change the game, not just your customers or stakeholders, people that are never going to buy from you, strategic partners, people that can introduce you or get you into new markets. And that's one of the things that we want to do in this community is build that strategic level discussion. And, like I said, this deck was done for another occasion, but there are a lot of platforms on the market, more than I can count. So yes, it can be a little bit confusing, and I think it's important to learn the concepts and not focus too much on one particular platform, because low code can help, but it doesn't need to be as complex. Like I said, we'll go through this fast. Internal comms is key. Half the time, these systems are not about you. It's about the other people in your business. So many times I talk to people who end up with, they're the one person. I spoke to someone today. They got 5 staff and they said it was too much and then went back to 1. And it wasn't that it was too much. It was just that they didn't have a way to communicate internally with their own teams, a way to share the information so that it was in the middle and not all in the business owner's head. So don't bury your head in the sand. Don't get shiny app syndrome. Don't mass email. Don't buy lists. Don't do marketing that feels like marketing. Don't rely solely on Facebook or Google. And don't rely on intuition. Data can really help you make decisions. Make sure you do personalize your outreach. Allow for people to help themselves, because not everybody wants to jump on the phone for half an hour. Respond quickly. Build partnerships. Involve the customer in the process. And take it offline. Be human. Be in person. Be there in the moment. And yeah, make it human, not salesy. Thank you very much. I'll take questions. We'll do that for 2 or 3 minutes. We'll keep it nice and short, and then we'll roll on.
I got a question, comment. You encapsulated the complexity beautifully. It's so hard to choose. I'm always scared of choosing which marketing strategy because of too many options. Like, I know all this stuff. I've got to choose. But then if I choose the wrong way, then go. So that's when someone says, "What's your problem?" I have too many choices. I don't know which one is the best choice for what I want to achieve. So you express that beautifully and go, okay, that's the challenge for all of us.
Thank you. Yeah, I think know one thing, like you're convincing humans, and sometimes you need to meet them for coffee or get on a phone call with them or send them an email or a letter or something. Like it takes a number of approaches or angles or conversations before someone goes, aha, yes. So I think we've got a question here. Stuart.
Can I just make a comment there, if I may, Avon?
Sure.
Just continuing on from what Charles said, the bit about too many options and not sure which way to go. That was a dilemma I had. It was before you and I met, actually, Avon, but I knew I needed a CRM, but there were too many choices and they all had features and functions, and I just needed somebody who was willing and able to listen to what my business was about and what I was trying to achieve. And that person pointed me in the direction of Zoho. And then sometime later, you and I met and you've assisted me since then. I think I know the situation I found myself in, Charles, was the good thing was talking to somebody who knew a variety of solutions. They weren't pushing any one particular barrow. And I found that really helpful to be able to talk to somebody who didn't have a personal narrative to point me down one particular line because that's what he or she sold. It was somebody who was across a number of them. And that's something I've appreciated from Avon.
Thanks. Nice.
Throw in another comment on that.
If I may. Same experience, Paul. I had 3 to 4 years with my guy, go high level, bang, 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 bang. Kept changing my business, changing what I wanted, just doing my head in. And I've known Avon from before in another group, and I touched base a few times, every time I was almost suicidal. From from this other guy, and the same thing. He just came up with a simple, cheap, easy solution for now. So business 101 is people do business with people they know, like, and trust, because the knowledge given is pure with the right intention, not a vested interest in one intention.
I might just add to that, Tom, with regards to what causes knowledge, likability, and trustworthiness. We have to think about what are those things that actually cause that. And it's about authentic communications. It's about being able to actually position ourselves in a way, or the content that we create, or the platforms that we supply to our clients in a way that really demonstrates that authenticity. It's really, really important, especially now as the more and more that AI comes in. This is one of those crazy things about AI, which I think is fantastic and a bit of a controversy or a bit of a surprise to a lot of people. The more that AI comes in, the more that authentic content will become valuable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think of that, because like the more I'm in, Photoshop, right? I'm editing images. What am I trying to do with them? Make them look more real, not less real. All right. Think about that. Think in terms of how you can be more real with everything you do.
Let's say unreal, not less real.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stuart did put his hand up, so let's go, Stuart.
You stole my line. The unreal thing. Yes, that's absolutely bang on. But look, great minds. I really do share the ethos that everyone's spoken about there as well. And I just I'd throw one extra comment in about that connectedness to people as well, is that don't actually give up on long tail relationships, because one of my classic connections is actually it's from a military background, and I was going to these events and supporting these events, and one of the first ones that I attended, I ended up interviewing one of the chaps on stage, and we just kept striking up conversations, and he kept bouncing around ideas with me, and I said, that's just such a cracking idea. Anyway, that is Tim Walmsley from Benchon.
Yeah.
And he ended up developing his incredible product. I like to think that there was a bit of a bouncing ideas around it. Like there's maybe a percentage, like a 1%, maybe a little bit of inspo over that time, just from all those conversations. And then he said, "Hey, look, we've really got to get this website organized. Can you help us?" And so we've actually done that twice with him now. Continue to assist. We've done video work with him and just continue to grow with his company. But it literally took 5 years, not of smashing him around the head and driving sales pitches down his throat, but just actually genuinely being there, which is exactly what Mark said. It's finding solutions and suggesting ways around, which comes from the essence that everyone's spoken about as well. And that's why we're with him years later, and we'll continue to be with him and be a trusted advisor as well with all of his digital elements, despite the fact that he went for Salesforce. But that's okay. There's still time. I think there's about 8 months to go with his sentence. I mean subscription, and then he may come around. But look,
I'm getting a lot of Salesforce migrations. Yeah.
It's just, all I can say is it's just a matter of time. And it started with him saying, "I signed up," and I went, "Really? Are you joking?" And he said, no, I've signed up. And then we spent 2 weeks trying to integrate everything with Salesforce's premium support. Look, I shouldn't be dogging on another CRM. Well, it's fantastic. It's really good just for certain people, but it's interesting. It's just interesting, that whole process. Yes.
It's exceedingly complex. Yeah. I better give Ross a chance.
Yeah, Evan, great presentation. It's great to see those things. A couple of points that I noticed. The slides of the decision makers. I was reading something the other day where it was 4 or 5 people were in the decision chain for particularly for medium-sized companies around about and upwards. It's gone to 12 people are in the decision-making chain. So it's not good enough to be just in contact with the CEO and the whatever, or the business owner. It's that whole thing's changed. The other one was the chatbots. People you picked up. It's got stronger that people are trusting that, but they also trust the reviews of people, of strangers, than anybody else. So in a way, know, like, and trust is really, they're trusting pure strangers that those comments are really right. And I find that fascinating. But the question I wanted to ask you as well is, what's the biggest thing do you think has changed out of all that information and all the key things that you showed there? What do you think is the biggest thing that's changed in the last 2 years that's now more relevant now than ever than it was back then?
Just the currency of some of the news items. The concepts are the same. The challenges are the same. The hurdles are exactly the same. So the Ukraine thing, we're just further down in the same pipeline. Taiwan, everything's still at risk. There's still tension in China and Russia. There's still, or the Suez Canal isn't blocked, but there's still delays in everything. And even though it wasn't that, it was CrowdStrike, which then affected everything. The only thing I would say is AI is more advanced, but more money, more problems. Everybody's got now got to try and keep up with the rate of things that you can do. Everyone's trying to learn it, but they're spending so much time on testing and trying to figure out how to use it that's all the time that they would have saved from the thing anyway. I mean, yeah, we use it. It makes some improvements, but it's not everything. I mean, when the steam train came out, everybody had the same opportunity, or largely, for the opportunity that it brought. And then when the computer came out, and when the iPhone came out, and it's just another wave of change that everybody is affected by. So will you stand out and be ahead? Maybe if you're an early adopter, you might catch a wave, but the broad scheme of things, probably not. Charles, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to agree with you, Avon, but it's a good practice to understand to reinforce what you just said. I'm up to episode 205 in my weekly Charles Kovess show. I have a weekly program on TNT radio, which I'd have 2.5 years. And on my Charles Kovess show, I get AI to do a summary of the words I'm going to put into my email to send it out to my group. It gets the essence of it. Like, just try it one day. Do a video, speak to a video, right? Give me the essence of what I've just said. It is crap. And I spent a lot of time amending it. And the other thought that I share with you, so just try it, because then you go, gosh, that's not how I would put it. That's how a robot would put it. And the second is, what's the essential difference between us and robots?
We get to be kooky, weird, and different.
Very nice. John Rappaport, who I'm a big fan of, he says it's imagination. That's what we've got in this place, imagination. And we use AI just as a bloody screwdriver, but it's our imagination. And you, Mark, as a photographer, your imagination, you follow AI to do it, they'll just be whatever. So I just agreeing, Avon, with what you're saying. Try it, use it as a tool, but it's not life.
Awesome. And with that, we might end the recording. Thank you so much. We'll all still be on in just